Jordan Peterson Syndrome Cured, Part 2, Comedy. In Part 1, I addressed how anticipation and imagination can help prevent mental crises. Today, I will discuss the role of comedy, its potential in making us mentally healthy, keeping us that way. Well, it is curious that scientists can prove laughing is healthier for us than living in fear or depression, which is really something everyone knows by the age of 2 and forgets in kindergarten. Somehow, incredibly, despite being a respected mental health expert, Dr. Jordan Peterson never prescribes comedy. He doesn't even use comedy to improve his ratings. Well, to be fair, he does play the clown. I mean, he is funny if you recognize his mistakes. But he doesn't try to be funny. It's much more likely that he's the trickster who loves to bamboozle people, students included. Or maybe he's merely stuck in an erroneous, predatory, and parasitic view of life. Maybe both. Let's listen to Jordan expose himself as he explains the reason we laugh from his perspective.
Psychologically, this always struck me as very interesting how when you're by yourself and you're reading a funny story, you can recognize it's funny, but you don't laugh. Right. But then you're with other people, you're watching a show or something, and you laugh, and it's not like you're forcing it, it just happens because you're with other people.
I think you're signaling your willingness to play. I used to work out with a couple of friends in Boston, and one of the tricks we used to play when people were bench pressing was to tell a joke. Because if you could get the person to laugh, they lose all their muscular resistance. So that's so interesting, that when you laugh, which is an unconscious phenomenon, it's not like you can help it. Right. And if you force it, it's not true laughter. Right. When you laugh, now you're in that play state. And when you are in that play state, you offer no muscular resistance. Mm-hmm. So it's a really dramatically embodied form of surrender to trust.
Psychologically, it's always...
Well, that is curious. The first point by this cleric of the Catholic Church, I assume, is that people can't laugh alone. Well, I beg to differ. Um, I have laughed alone at myself, and usually, sometimes at the reactions I have elicited with different behaviors and statements, online and offline. Yes, I've done plenty of socially unacceptable things. Yes, put it mildly. Jordan Peterson's point, something quite builds on that, I suppose, that laughing is necessarily social, and that it leads to surrender, or it is a manifestation of surrender to someone who has completely rendered you helpless and passive, unable to resist. I'm using his words muscularly, but of course also mentally, as implied. Well, that's curious. That's how, predatory people and look at us and at everything, really. I'm not one to signal my trust and surrender to people who tickle me or amuse me. I'm not signaling that at all. If I laugh when I'm tickled, it's because, well, for sure, certainly I need to be comfortable with whomever I am being tickled. And the same goes for jokes. If I'm not comfortable with a person, I surely won't laugh. But Um, I don't think surrender should be, and lack of resistance, and these terms are really part of a healthy view of humor. Humor is healthy, should be, and that's how we help each other with comedy feel happy, healthy. It's simple science. Well, let's look into another video presentation on humor, just 2 minutes of it. And on the surface, I was impressed. Initially, I was impressed. It sounds quite coherent. Jordan Peterson does, but after careful examination, turns out that it's again this predatory view of humor. I know that sounds strange, but I'm sure it will make more sense as I go along.
And then it doesn't take much to also draw a link between humor and truth, because there's something in humor that's, well, first of all, often what people who are funny do is tell you a truth that no one else will state. Stand-up comics do that all the time. And then there's the idea that
Tell you a truth that no one else will state. Always a humiliating truth about other people. That is Jordan's view of humor.
if you're telling a joke, you're in somehow simultaneously beneath and above contempt. Like it's a bad sign not to be able to take a joke, even at your expense. And I think the reason for that is that, let's say you're about to do something important and you trip a little bit, and so you kind of lower yourself, and you laugh and other people laugh, and what you're indicating is that you can accept the fact that you're imperfect. And so what you do when you accept that fact is you simultaneously elevate yourself, because you say, well, I'm clearly the thing that can make the mistake, but I'm also clearly the thing that can recognize the mistake and put it in its proper context and transcend it simultaneously, which is exactly what someone who could take a joke does.
Which is an indication of status as opposed to the inverse.
Well, it's an indication of the existence of the thing that produces status. That's that capacity for transcendence. So that's why, in some sense, the fool or the trickster is the precursor to the savior.
Fool or the trickster is the precursor to the savior. How curious. Jesus and tricksters. Well, this is how the upper class views itself. They laugh at us, and so they feel above us. And if we can laugh at our falls, well, so much better for us, I suppose. But the difference he fails to explain is that the upper class is not only laughing at us as we accidentally trip. No, we are tripping over the wires and traps and feet extended and placed by them. The banking, education, um, entertainment, all these institutions, they are jokes. Religion is a joke. All of it has been planted by them before us, and we fall for it, and they laugh, and they profit, and they feel it's not their fault because we didn't look carefully. We trusted them. We were tickled by them. We were tricked by them. Yeah, he doesn't know how to make, or doesn't intentionally make connections between the real world and his philosophizing.
Because there's wisdom, there's real wisdom in that ability to
you think I'm laughing at myself. It's like, that's a very strange statement. It's because you're dividing yourself into two parts there. It's the fool part, that's the thing you're laughing at, and there's the thing that's laughing. And you're privileging the thing that's laughing. And the thing that's laughing is the thing that can take the joke and move on. And so and people admire that, as they should, because it's an indication of your ability to transcend, well, to transcend your foolish limitations.
Your foolish limitations. We do have limitations. Not sure they're foolish. I have limits as to how long I can live. I'm sure there's a limit. Not sure there's anything funny about it. Um, what am I getting at? Is there another way comedy can be conceptualized? Is there another form of comedy? Of course there is. It's called self-effacing comedy. It's the comedy in which people intentionally um, say silly things, do silly things to make others laugh for the benefit of others. This is the opposite of what Jordan Peterson, his limited mind, envisions as comedy. Well, sometimes I think he is trying a little bit to amuse us. Um, I seem to have lost the photo. It's crazy. Internet. There we go. There's Mr. Peterson with his heaven and hell jacket again. Apparently created by his Ukrainian tailor, the Russian connection. Ooh, be afraid. But seriously, heaven and hell jacket, is he really playing the Mason, duality in harmony? Um, I think there's something of that sort happening here. Apparently, the the hell side, that's the red flaming side, is made of, let's see, is fabric made from goat wool, and the blue side is made from sheep wool. Now, that's a curious choice. Seems to mean something. Of course, it plays into conventional symbolism, the goat, um, the satyr, the devil, the horned Satan must be associated with hell, and sheep, those wonderfully innocent creatures, must be associated with heaven. But beyond that, beyond the lovely symbolism, the popular symbolism, is the stark reality that both goats and sheep are domesticated prey and symbolize us, the working class, for these people, these predatory upper class elites. Um, I couldn't resist sharing a picture of the not so famous or not famous enough Dr. Hunter Patch Adams, who was nearly immortalized by Robin Williams in Patch Adams. This doctor didn't dress up for attention. He dressed up to make people laugh. His shirts bear some resemblance to some shirts worn by Doctor Peterson, but the aim is entirely different. This man wanted people to laugh at him, wanted to improve people's health through laughter. Quite a stark difference. And in a moment, we will have an image of Tyler Fisher. There he is. Quite a talented um, imitator of voices and some more comic talent, wearing I suppose it's meant to be a humorous shirt. But he also is conventional comedian, dishing out mostly cruel and insensitive jokes. Um, that is the norm nowadays. Self-effacing humor, no. Excuse me. This is Dr. Jordan with said true comic Tyler Fisher, discussing, among other things, Tyler's childhood with his depressed mother. Apparently, he wished to cheer her up and prevent her suicide by making her laugh, did everything possible. And on the day she committed or attempted to commit suicide, excuse me, he decided that he can't help anyone. And that was his awakening. Can't help anyone. So, well, he's not helping anyone, I guess. I'd like to know what kind of jokes and antics he shared with her in order to improve her mood. But I don't want to say that good humor can save people from depression. It's only one tool in the toolbox. And honestly, ultimately, um, we don't need leaders and a minority of comedy creators. We all need to become comedians, um, creators. Otherwise, well, obviously, self-effacing humor only works if you do it yourself. It's easy to laugh and fun to laugh when others mock themselves. Again, not a habit of the elites. Quite different, quite a different ball game to mock yourself. Um, in this video, well, since the previous one referenced Bill Burr, I'm not sure why I haven't quite finished watching it and probably won't. I couldn't resist having another look at Bill Burr. And in this skit, he is mocking women. One moment. Making light of, well, domestic violence. How radical is that? Bill Burr laughing at domestic violence. He claimed a waitress joked, quote, "We like our beer, like we like our violence. Domestic." How is that funny? Women like domestic violence? Is that the insinuation? If it's domestic, it's all right. Domestic violence is better than foreign violence. Of course, it's ridiculous, but more than that, we really shouldn't laugh at the suffering of others. Now, if a victim of domestic violence were to say that she or he prefers it to foreign violence, I might laugh because I know she or he is in charge of their life and isn't suffering from beaten wife or beaten husband syndrome. He or she has transcended weakness and fear. But if we laugh at the suffering of others and suffering we've never experienced, that only serves to desensitize or anesthetize everyone to the painful reality. And alas, that is much of our comedy too. I mean, even classics like Seinfeld take pleasure in being insensitive and cruel. Slapstick comedy from decades past was obviously cruel and painful. Yeah, I don't understand such comedy and wish there were more good comedy. Comedy that doesn't rely on mocking or hurting others. Well, I've been accused of being a comedian more than once, I admit, but I would never mock others for being foolish, much less for suffering. So I would never tell this joke in earnest. Do you know why the Nazis used bread ovens to exterminate the Jews? Because they always came out looking like bagels. That's not funny. And just to be clear, I don't believe the Nazis baked bagels. Another joke I wouldn't tell is the one about the man suffering from cancer. And on his birthday, on June 22nd, he learns that his cancer is terminal. I wouldn't tell that man, well, your astrological sign is the sign of Cancer. So bad on you for being born 2 days too late. You could have been a Gemini. That's not funny, just playing with words and coincidences. Not going to help anyone who is suffering from cancer feel better, I suspect. There are ways to be cured and ways to prevent the accursed zodiac sign, but I'm not a medical doctor, so I'll speak no more on that subject. What kind of joke would I tell? I once had a lady friend who loved astrology. She used it to understand her life, but she couldn't understand her cat. So I asked her, do you know your cat's astrological sign? I was pretending to be stupid, and that made her laugh. Well, the mental health world needs, well, the world generally needs a good dose of self-effacing humor. Not cruel, predatory humor that seeks targets to mock and seeks to make light of other people's suffering, thereby inflating the ego of the joker. I'm not amused by such jokes. I prefer to sacrifice my non-existent ego for the amusement of others. And if that means baring my naked ass in public, I would probably do that. If it means carrying a wooden bicycle to work, I would do that. And if it means hanging upside down on a playground while a Roman soldier tickles me with a feather, I would do that. Sure, I would. In conclusion, to be clear about the difference between good and bad humor, I'll consult the LOL, aka the laws of life, a little wisdom handed to me by Mama Nature while I meditated on a toilet. Cross my heart. One moment. The laws of life. I won't read them all. I like to share them piece by piece. Number one, to be happy and healthy, believe nothing serious unless you confirm it with your senses, or your health, or through the experience of people you live with, and only pretend to be stupid or tell lies in order to make others laugh. That is self-effacing humor. And in the eighth law of life, handed to me by Mother Nature, to be happy and healthy for physical pleasure, practice self-deprecating physical humor. To which, let's finish and share a little more. Play with your children, a lost art, alas. Make sculptures, dramas, and songs for your children. Eat the best fruit and sex. Yeah, I invented that verb. Sex with consenting adults of the opposite sex. I recommend. Nature recommends. and only penetrate after clitoral orgasm. Try that, boys. And try holding your boys to that, dear women. Um, have I produced any serious self-effacing humor? Indeed, as I mentioned in one of my talks, in response to who was that excellent psychologist, charlatan, what was his name? Oh, I do forget. Will come back to me. I forget all these great people. How dare I? Um, I'll just read one paragraph from my holy comedy. After Mother, that's Mother Nature, kindly created the first cuboid planet for us, she kindly created us with a series of accidents. It began when she played with her feces, which she accidentally shaped into human-like forms, which became the first mush blooms, which she didn't like. So she fed enriched uranium to them until they evolved into leeches, which she liked even less. So she squeezed them into the first bipedal lizards, which complained about her work. So she cast the spell of her awesome love upon them, and thus she accidentally raised pig-headed clownfish, whom she hated. So she smashed, tore, chopped, boiled, chewed, and spat some of them out, and thus were born the first nobalanimalas, who violated all her laws until she was bored and inspired. Until she was bored and she inspired them to make their opposites. Eager to please her, they tried to make stupid children, named them the humanimals. But these latest creatures did not humor Mother or even make her jealous. So the bitch invented the thinking plague, so that you and I would confuse everything, even the basics of life, so that nature would laugh for eternity. Confuse even the basics of life. Yeah, as a consequence, people don't even know what to eat and forget that movement is rather necessary for life. Forget that heterosexual, well, you know where I'm going. That'll do for today. You can reach me at the prophet of fiction at proton.me.